Hi guys, welcome back to my booktube channel. In this video I'm going to talk about the 3 books that I managed to read as part of my 30 books in 30 days challenge, which began a little over a week ago. In this challenge I intend to read 30 books in 30 days, and I know this is ambitious, but I'm doing this because I want to gain some ground on my TBR. I haven't really gone down to reading too much during the pandemic, so I thought by having this challenge I could at least make up for the lost time of not having read books. So I read 3 amazing books in the last few days, the first of which is Creatures by Tracy, Chevalier. This book is about 2 women who are bound by their love for archaeology and digging out fossils. The book is set in the 19th century and it takes place in a place called Lyme Regis mainly, which is in England. This book is about Elizabeth and Mary Anning. Elizabeth is the older woman and Mary Anning is young when she begins to collect fossils. Mary is a countryside girl and Elizabeth lives in the city. Elizabeth moves into the beachside town, which is situated in Dorchester. So that's where this friendship begins. You can see the 2 characters here. So basically this book is really interesting, it's intellectually stimulating. There's a lot of interesting tidbits about fossils and fossils of Paleosaurus and basically a lot of dinosaur species that were yet to be discovered, which were discovered back in 19th century by women in England. So if you're interested in that sort of stuff, and if you like reading the Essex Serpent, then you might really enjoy this book. I highly recommend it to those who are interested in like historic fiction with a pinch of scientific research. If you want to learn some facts, and this is actually based on the real life of Mary Anning, who was the first female fossil discoverer back in the day. So she was one of the first few women to enter the field, and she was self-taught and she was a fossil hunter. What's interesting is that we can see how science and women and all of that is linked, and how religion plays a role in this dynamic as well. How religion affects the perception of the discovery of new things, and how people weren't ready to accept evolution as a thing back in 19th century. There was still the belief about the flood and the creation. People are not very open-minded, and they looked at fossils as bits of monsters which lived back in the day, and they couldn't basically fathom prehistoric times. So if that's something that sounds interesting, basically books about scientific discovery set in the 19th century when people were still new to the ideas of science, and religion and science, they clash. So all that is great. The writing is amazing, and it's not really fast-paced, but it's really interesting to see how family life plays out and how there's this contrast between a well-educated Londoner versus a person who's living in the countryside and who isn't very well educated, who learned everything she knows about fossils from her father, who is a mere carpenter. Tracy Chevalier is really good at historic fiction, and there's this sort of sense that the author is there, but she's not very obviously there when she's writing, but she lurks behind the pages. So that's really nice, and it definitely is the kind of book you want to read more about after the book ends. You want to go and find out about Mary Anning, the real Mary Anning. And it's really cool that even to this day her name is there in the Natural History Museum in London and her discoveries are there. I didn't like that Elizabeth's character sort of downplayed, in the sense Mary's gets more of a status. Like Elizabeth is this quiet, self-sacrificial woman. In a sense, she's done amazing things, and it's because of her that Mary is successful the way she is. But we don't get to see how Elizabeth's contribution in this is actually of value. Tracy could have done a better job at like bringing Elizabeth more into the narrative. That's what I felt, but definitely recommend reading this, and it's definitely worth your time. If you like slow moving but at the same time very rich stories, then I recommend this. The next book that I read is Laila Slimani's Lullaby. I picked it out because it's the Women in Translation month. This book is translated from the French by Sam Taylor. Why I was attracted to this book is firstly the cover. The cover looks really interesting, and also because this is a story which is unusual. It is based on a true crime which actually took place in Paris some time ago. It's about this woman who is actually a nanny, and she comes to take care of the kids of this couple who's young, and they have 2 kids, 1 boy and 1 girl. At the very beginning of the novel, we get to hear that the kids are found murdered in their playroom. So we don't know if it's the nanny or somebody else who did this. Actually, we do know it's the nanny because we also see the nanny in the same room. Written very well, like it's very indirectly hinted upon the fact that she was there and all of that. So it immediately sucks you in, and you immediately get transported to this Parisian apartment where there's this scene playing out with 2 kids, one of whom is convulsing in fits, the girl who is 8 years old, while the younger child, the boy, is no more, and you can see the nanny lying there with her wrist slit. So it's a little on the intense side, but if you like that sort of tale, then I highly recommend reading this. And I think it's brilliant in terms of the character study, like I said earlier. You really get into the mind of this nanny and the kind of lifestyle she leads and the kind of people she interacts with, and how those relationships shape who she is and the motives that she has for killing these kids. So it's like she's absolutely perfect on the outside, but then on the inside there's a lot of stuff going on. It's a very rich story. I think it was definitely exciting to read. It's very entertaining. I was really interested to look up the real case and the inspiration behind this story after reading Lullaby. So a little creepy, but if you liked books like Lolita, The Grown Up by Gillian film, the short novella, and also if you like Dumb House by John Burnside, if you like these kinds of books, you will definitely enjoy reading Laila Slimani's Lullaby. I think the translation could have been improved upon in the sense there were a few words which was spelled wrong. I think other than that, like, the book is done well. There was not a single moment in the book where I felt it moving slowly. I was so eagerly reading and I wanted to know the end. It's kind of like a book you should read because you are more interested in the reader journey as opposed to the end. We all know that she is responsible for killing kids, but it's about how and why and what motivates her and what are the reasons, in what ways does her character get shaped. If you're interested in character-driven narratives, you should read this book. The third book that I read is Hannah Vincent's She Clown and Other Stories. So it's a short story collection and I'm more than halfway through. I am enjoying every bit of it and it has been such a well put together collection. It's about different kinds of women in different walks of life. So you see a woman who's pregnant, a woman who's mother of two, and a woman who's in her middle age. Women in different roles of life, like wives and daughters and mothers, and basically all different roles. And some of the stories are also a little morbid and some of them are just like very eerie. Like there's this one story where this woman, she's a mother and she swallows a frog and there's a frog in her throat. Her daughter is the one who takes her to the hospital and the doctor says that it's nothing but a frog, but I can get rid of it, so don't worry and everything. So they remove the frog and the frog is kept there. So it's like those kind of stories as well, but are very believable and they definitely have a larger purpose and larger thing that they're highlighting. The first couple of stories ended abruptly, but they're still very immersive. All of the stories are really immersive and you get lost in them. You immediately get transported to a different scenario and you feel like you are looking at those characters and you're suddenly in that snippet of time where you can occupy that space with them. So in that sense, I really enjoyed this collection. I think she's a very talented writer and I think maybe this is her debut, but she's done a really brilliant job. And I definitely look forward to more from Hannah Vincent. I'm really glad I picked up this book because not many people have reviewed this. If you love short stories and if you like fairy tales and if you like things with a slightly different turn, like unexpected twists and just eerie characters, unique plots, unique pieces of life, looking into somebody else's life briefly and seeing what's going on there. Like if you like those kind of things, then you should definitely pick up this collection. I have around 5 stories left and I'm really excited to finish this book, which I think I'm going to rate 5 out of 5 stars, and who knows, this might even be my favorite book of the year. But the challenge has only begun, my 30-day 30 books challenge, and I still have another 27 books to go. Will I be able to finish this challenge? We will have to wait and watch. In the meantime, let me know which of these 3 books sound interesting to you, whether you're willing to pick any of these up. Have you read them? What are you currently reading? Let me know in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear from you guys. Hope you're keeping safe. Take care. I will be back soon with another bookish video. Bye.